Yo, what's going on, guys? And of course, we're going to talk about Andrew Wiggins. As a guy who watched a ton of Minnesota Timberwolves games growing up, Andrew Wiggins has been a man who's always had the talent and has showcased it in many ways. He showed the prolific scoring ability in Minnesota, and then when Golden State won their most recent championship, he showed that he can be that all defensive team level defender that we thought he could be. So Maple Jordan, as of right now, is looking, I think, quietly pretty good for a Golden State Warriors team that is having a resurgence this year after the departure of Klay Thompson. So I want to hear your thoughts today before we start today's video. What do you guys think of Andrew Wiggins this year? What do you think of the Jonathan Kuminga situation, Moses Moody, B-Pod, everybody involved? What do you think is the future of this team? And do you think because Wiggins is on like a very team-friendly contract, and if he can show his consistency and just show that last year was a fluke due to like the personal reasons that he was, having a bad year in the beginning of the year and he came out of shape. But by the end of the year, people didn't realize he actually finished last year pretty solid. So let's get into today's video. Let me hear those opinions down below in the comment section, as I definitely think it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out as the Warriors, if they really continue to do this. And we know DeAnthony Milton's out for the season with a torn ACL. So my whole thought process is, as of right now, I think they're just going to keep the team together and then wait for what the buyout market looks like, because they're going to have a $6.4 million disabled player exception if the NBA qualifies it. So obviously it's dependent on that, but either way, let's get right into it. And I think, as we see, Andrew Wiggins, obviously he's benefiting from Klay Thompson, signing a free agency to the Dallas Mavericks. And through 12 games, it's a small sample size, he's averaging 16 points, 4.5 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 27 minutes a night, while shooting 47% from the field. I think that's a really solid thing about him, and 39% from three, showing his just really good shot selection that he's been doing since he's gotten to Golden State. There have been years where he's become inconsistent, and I think right now he's gone to the same spots ever since Steve Kerr hammered into his brain high percentage looks. And last year he was, for most of the time, taking those high percentage looks. They just weren't falling, and I think that was just a lack of reps in the gym in the off season, because God rest his soul, his father was sick, it seems. So we can all understand why he wasn't up to par. So with that being said, I think, as you can see, he's been able to just take advantage of what opportunities are being given to him. And with the offense humming, especially with Buddy Hield there to play off of him, play next to him, he's a guy who's looking like he's thriving. And his 55.8% true shooting is about league average. So it's not like it's insane, but he's doing what he needs to do. I think it's really his defensive contributions. He's averaging about a steal and a block per game, which are, basic defensive stats, but what you're able to see from the eye test is he's usually guarding the opposing team's best offensive player, and he's used as kind of like a Swiss Army knife at times, similar to how Jaden McDaniels is used. Obviously Jaden is a bit bigger and can guard more forwards, but I think Wiggins does a better job on guards than McDaniels does. And I still think McDaniels is the better defender overall, of course, but I think Wiggins is helping right here into the Warriors' great start of 11-3 through 14 games, where they're the second seed. And Curry, Wiggins, Buddy Hield, of course, are really helping close that gap that Klay left. And I mean, Buddy Hield's doing a lot of it, but I just think, looking at this, it's really, really paying off that they've kept Wiggins. They didn't trade him like people were saying. And with Curry averaging 23 points and, Draymond Green out here averaging 9 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists a night, honestly, I will say Draymond Green is looking way better than I was not anticipating. I honestly didn't think Draymond Green at least from a scoring standpoint, I truly believe him as a rebounder and as a passer, that he was gonna like get up there, or like that he could get back to what he was. As he's shown, like defensively, he's improved when he wanted. He had that 1 year where people said he regressed and then bounced back and was like borderline defensive player of the year, almost won defensive player of the year. I think it was like his health is the reason he didn't win it, but still, like this team is doing great. But the fact that you have Draymond Green and Andrew Wiggins, 2 lockdown defenders on this team, and then obviously you have Kyle Anderson, D'Anthony Hamilton, again, is a huge loss. So looking at this, with Wiggins being the team's one of the team's secondary scorers, as well as the team's defensive perimeter anchor, as Draymond is more, obviously the team's defensive leader and interior presence. Jonathan Kuminga is averaging 14 points, Buddy Hield 16. And those 2 guys are more offensive. We've talked about it before. Jonathan Kuminga, I've always said, it might be that his best role is being like a 6-man. Like he was actually a 6-man of the year candidate last year before they made him a starter. So I think looking at this team, Andrew Wiggins, interestingly enough, has become sort of, I think you have Moses Moody and B-Pod who seem to be 2 guys that Steve Kerr and the Warriors really view as long-term guys, more so than Jonathan Kuminga. Also, Jonathan Kuminga wanted like $30 million a year. I think that's a big thing, and they didn't want to pay him that. So with B-Pod and Moses Moody, also other guys who allow Wiggins to have space. And the thing is with Wiggins and Kuminga are both guys who need the ball, because Kuminga more so than Wiggins has become significantly better without the ball in his hands. But Kuminga really, really thrives at kind of being that spark off the bench, let everybody rest, and he just runs the offense through. They run the offense through Kuminga. And the problem when they're both there is that they both like to drive and they're both like athletic. Like it's not that their offensive games are the same, but like they kind of on offense do have to play the same position. So when you play, like Kuminga's not big enough for the 4, and nor is Wiggins. And then it becomes awkward when you have Kuminga at the 3. It's like, and like Kuminga's like big enough for the 4, but like from a defensive standpoint. So I think with Wiggins out there, he's kind of become this glue guy, and is the bridge, the gap that is in between Thompson and whatever the future is, as Thompson was the guy who used to handle the opposing team's best offensive player. And now that's Wiggins. And on nights where Curry or Hield aren't scoring, that falls down to Mr. Andrew Wiggins. So I think that's the biggest thing right here, is just seeing that all play out. I don't know, maybe I'm just looking too much into this. I don't think Wiggins is going to be an all-star. I don't think, maybe I'm wrong. People do love Andrew Wiggins. He has a following, and he's on the Golden State Warriors, which is another team that like big following. If they're winning a bunch of games, potentially, I think it'd rather be if there's 2 all-stars coming from the Golden State Warriors. As of right now, it's either Draymond and